Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to this brand new video. A quick reminder for you guys who are watching, if you find me kind of feeling a bit more sad today, but I guess I have not eaten properly, that's why, and as well as I'm feeling a little bit of anxiety in my head about some event. That's why I always say aim low in life, sort of aim low. Just aim low. Just go for things which you can control there. To be happy, to choose to quit, or to choose to continue with the happiness. To love, to think, to come back again stronger. Help people, love people, and most importantly, eat, make people eat, drink water, and code. And breathe, man, breathe, and be happy. Anyway, so we are going into a topic that is using rendering a component, using and rendering a component. Rendering is basically a fancy word of saying displaying a component, using a component. Okay, using a component of some place into some other place, that is using component in another component basically. Okay, using the facets of it, using basically using it. You understand what the using word means, right? Now that we have defined function component, we okay, what if we have defined as a functional component, by the way? What have we done? Okay, this is our function, my function component, so we're gonna use it and we're gonna render it. We have to start using it. We can use it in HTML like syntax that resembles self-closing tags like this. Crazy. Do you understand what does it mean? It is saying, like, for example, this HTML or index.html is there, right? So it is saying inside this you can use that. You can use it like HTML like syntax. You can just put this created function, whichever like functional component you created, right? You can just straight away use this name. You can use it just by putting a starting and a ending tag and putting it in between and using it in the HTML file. Simple. If you need to nest other components in between, you may also use an opening and the corresponding closing tags. So this is component inside component, other component, like that. So if you, this is like a void component, this not containing anything, but this is a non-void component. It is containing something. That is another component. So you can make a component behave like a void component, and also you can make it behave like a nested component or a non-void component in certain way. So, however, to render a component to the browser, we must rely on the dot create root and dot render. So as you know, in the past we have learned about dot create root and dot render. Dot render will basically display our result. Dot create root will basically make that component as the head of our DOM. Okay, let me just ask ChatGPT this. ChatGPT, GPT. So, will this make the component as the head of the DOM? So let's see how right we are. Let's see. Like, I know I'm not right about it, so don't think it controls everything in the top like the vast DOM element. It just manages what you have given to it. What did I type? Create root. Doesn't make the component. Set up. Basically creates a root where React will manage components. Oh, so it's not like that. It basically creates an environment. Okay, when React will manage the component inside it. Okay, so basically it helps in creating a give a proper definition for it. Like, what does this create.react does? So what it does is a method in the React that creates a root container, like a container, an environment for rendering a React application. It binds React's virtual DOM to an actual DOM node, allowing allowing React to manage and update the part of the DOM efficiently. Okay, the root created by this method is starting point for the rendering React component and handling updates. So basically, it's like, hey React, take control of this section of the DOM and do these things. Okay, let me just show you what is a DOM again. DOM visualizer, visualizer, DOM visualizer. So for example, this is a DOM. This is a very complicated looking DOM. Let's go for some simpler DOMs. So this looks like a simpler DOM. For example, we have put in this component like a tag as a component inside it. So what it will do, it will take help of, it will basically tell the DOM that take the React that take full responsibility of this component here and make changes as I'm telling you to, like that. So using create root, what it basically does is it makes. Let me just read. It was a way. Huh? What it does, the root created by this method. Okay, the head that created by this method, it starts as the entry point, starting point for rendering React component. That's it. Displaying React component. Enough. Crap. Cut that crap now. And that render method will from the React DOM library. So React DOM library contains these two methods: dot create root and dot render. Okay, this should be done in the entry point. This should be done in our entry point index.js. Yes, makes sense. First, we call the create root method to create a root React root container for displaying content. Basically, an environment, a container where our certain React component will be displayed. React applications typically have a root DOM node. Okay, and everything inside is managed by React DOM. So this line, we need to understand it. Okay, ChatGPT. Make it for the lamest person on earth. Oh, आपको lamest person on the earth application is. Here we go. React apps have one special spot on the page called a root. React takes care of everything inside this spot. You tell React where this spot is using create root. After that, React handles all the challenges and changes and the updates in that area. You don't have to mess with it anymore. There is a bus example. Even the lamest person can get it. Yeah, I can get it now. So React applications typically have a single root node. Basically, single root node is basically that spot, that single spot on the page where everything inside is managed by React DOM. In other words, we give React DOM an element to render in, and React will take over managing the DOM inside it. So have a look at this cool code here. So it says React DOM dot create root. Okay, so React DOM is what here? Is an object. Yeah. Dot create root, and inside this is the document dot get element by the ID app. So we are getting an access of certain component of our HTML document, and we are putting it inside the create root. So that place will become a spot for React, an environment of React for make changes and update and everything. So that part will get compared when some changes is brought in the DOM. That virtual DOM will get into the picture, and it will compare like before making the changes and after making the changes. It will just xerox it and, oh, this region, these are the changes that have been made, and that will just update that certain part of the DOM. This is the benefit of virtual DOM playing in this entire concept. So what is happening here is that we use React create root, and it creates a spot on our page wherein that React is responsible for all the changes that we make on the component, or the whatever the changes are happening in the component. Great. Let's break it down a bit further. Document.getElement by ID app returns a DOM element from index.html. Makes sense to you now? So in the HTML file, you must have found something with having an ID app. So this main, where is the main? This main component here, right? Yeah, this main component here containing nothing right now inside it. There is nothing. So it has an ID app. So we put this as a head, and after this, um, everything will be taken care by, you know what. So let me just pause it for a second. Somebody's messaging. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I was right about it. So document.get element by ID. So what it does, it put it into a spot in the page where React will take care of every action that is taking place in it. And most important thing here, we create root. We create a head. You use this function or method that is present in where? Present in present in where? Present in our React DOM library. We use this create root method, and inside it we can only put HTML elements, HTML components. You understand it, right? So easy. So dot create root receives DOM elements as the first argument and creates a root for it. DOM elements, document object model elements, basically components, let's say, inside it. Anyway, dot create root returns a reference to the root container on which you call the method like dot render. Now we need to pause for that. Oh, I really understand this further. Dot create root returns a reference to the root container. What does it mean? Dot create root returns a reference to root container. Dot create root returns a reference to the root container on which you call a method like dot render. So well written. Let me still, I understood it, but let me just do the same for. तू आता है सीने. Yeah, super basic, bro. Create root gives you a handle like a remote control for special root spot with which the remote you can tell React to show by using dot render and any other control commands. I understood it right, but it's like more deeper than that. Create root basically returns a reference to the root container. It just gives you the reference. It doesn't provide you a copy of it. It just provides you an address to it, and on which you can call many methods like dot render, or many other methods could also be present, so you can apply all of that. Dot render basically helps us to display it on the output. After the root is created, all that is left to do is to call the dot render method. So you need to create the root for that very component, the DOM element, and then you need to just call the render method on the returned root and display the React component. Method on the returned root. Return root. Method on the returned root. Oh, so this is the root you get. This is the head you get, and on that we apply dot render method. And we're trying to render what? My component. So inside the main component, we are basically gonna do inside the main this division. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put in my component inside it. So my component is what? Do you remember what is the my component? In app.js we have hello world. So inside, so on our HTML we'll see a spot wherein hello world will be represented. So from here, React will display my component in the root and make it appear on the screen. So read it carefully. It has two parts. React will display my component in the root and as well make it appear on the screen. So what is a root? The head. And inside the head, what is a root basically? Not a head, it's like entry point. It's just like an environment, and inside the environment you are displaying my root and also making it appear on the screen. In an application fully built with React, you will only need to do this once. Once this is set up, React will manage the DOM of your application and any updates that the UI taken care of efficiently. Adding more components should take place in your top level app.js file. So So basically, it's like connecting, like whatever make changes you are making, it should be reflected on the screen. In order to do that, you need to call two functions from the library React DOM. That first function is create root, and the second function is displaying after you have called create root. So where is it gone? I don't know where I need to type all that, but this is what we need to type. First of all, create the root and then render the component, the specific component that you want. Oh God, my back's aching. Okay, it's time to practice rendering your own component. To start, tell React where, oh, we are basically into a practice, like task. We have given two tasks to complete. It's time to practice rendering. Okay, by the way, am I getting even recorded? Yep. So it's time to practice rendering your own component. To start, tell React where to render components by specifying DOM elements as the root element for your app. So beautifully written. So inside our body, we have created something called main. So we want whatever components we are rendering, it should be rendered in the body. Basically in the body component. Okay. We don't have anything in the body. Basically, we have main. So basically in the body, whatever displaying thing we want, we should do that in the body. Okay, it's time to practice rendering your own component. To start, tell React where to render component by specifying DOM element as a root element for your app. Let's read it. Specifying DOM element as the root element for your app. So the DOM element will be this. Having an ID app, the DOM element is main, right? And inside the what? Inside the root, we want to display certain component. So open index.js. Okay, opened it. And begin by calling .create root to display the container main. Okay, so having the ID app. So where do we write all of this? Good question. Index.js and begin by calling this. Where do I call this? I think in r.js we call it, right? No. Let me just see a hint for this. Where do I call it? I mean, I can chat GPT this, but open. Let me just close everything. Index.js, right? Let's just open index.js and inside this. Oh, index.js, not HTML. I was literally scared. So we have imported React and React DOM client. Both of them are imported. So import my component from app. So I think we have to type here. I guess, or maybe in between, I don't know. Oh, yeah. So start by calling .create root. So on our React DOM object, we just gonna type in .create and we're gonna type in root, and inside this, as you know, we need to pass in the DOM element. What should I do? Document.get element by ID. Document dot get element. We can use query selector also, right? But elements get element by ID. We'll apply. We'll try that also. I think single comment both the ID of the DOM. So ID of the DOM is same. ID of the DOM is app. So you don't believe me? I'll show you. So you see ID of the DOM app only, right? Why am I control S-ing all the time? Anyway, so you think it should work? Yep. It worked. But it won't display anything because we need to render it, right? So how do we render it? The second thing would be like trying to render it, right? So dot render. And dot render will contain what? Hello world. And how do I make it contain hello world? We need to import my component. It's already imported. So just straight away type this, my component. and we have to type it as a component, I guess, like real component. Let's check, like that only we need to do. Yep, as I said. Let's give space for look, making it clear. So be ready. Three, two. We want to see here getting blue and here the output. Three, two, one. Okay, we did some mistake. Make sure that you pass in create root. We did. Make sure you pass in the right element. We did. What is the mistake? You know what? Sometimes it just fucks my brain up so much. So now it should work. You know what was the mistake? Mistake was that this was it. So we'll run it again and it should work right now. Yay! Hello world is on the screen. Basically, what we were doing, we were putting this dot render dot whatever, or we were putting this render function as a part of the argument in the create root function. So that would not work. You see, like the difference is like here. See the difference? See the difference? This is the final thing we want to achieve. This is outside. We're appending one more function on it, rendering it. Anyway, good work. We understood a little bit of this crap going on. Anyway, so in the next video, we'll be reviewing all of these crappy concepts, and you're good to go. Love you so much. Thank you so much, Oops, for joining, and I'll catch you later. Alligator.